everyone, welcome to Dance Geek. This is a very different Dance Geek video today because it's heavy on the geek, low on the dance, and no editing really. What you're about to watch is 51-ish minutes, unedited, of me going through how to set up Zoom accounts for dance studios. If you're not a dance studio or anything related to dance, this doesn't apply to you. Calisthenics, fitness, anything basically where you're going to be having multiple classes and music and movement. This series is for you. Okay, so I've made it for dancers and for dance teachers, and it's unedited. I want to edit it. I want to make it pretty and put all little bits and pieces in it, but we don't have time. In Victoria, I am filming this on Tuesday and school goes back on Monday or Tuesday. So we've got a week. We've got a week to get people set up here in Victoria. So I'm getting this information out as quickly and as roughly as possible. But it will go through everything you need to do. This is lesson 1, okay? Setting it up. I've done it so that you should be able to pause as you go and do it on your own computer. So have your laptop set up, ready to open Zoom, and have this running on, say, your phone or something, and get ready to pause, set things up. My other thing I'd say is get somebody in your house, if you happen to be in quarantine and lockdown, with somebody who's good at tech stuff, get them to sit with you. And by good at tech stuff, I mean your 12-year-old kid, okay? If they happen to be available to you, all right? Yeah. I'm sorry for the amount of times I say the word in the following footage, and let's just go. We're all in this together, so let's figure it out. There's my family on my laptop's desktop. There you go. Okay, this little icon down here is your Zoom app, or the Zoom client, they call it. I'm going to move my hand away from my mouth so that you can hear me clearer in the microphone. So this is your Zoom client. Over here on my desktop, I also have the Zoom client, same thing. When you click this, that Zoom client will come up as this. So think of it as the app. You can also access Zoom through the web browser. So I use Google Chrome, but this could also be Firefox, any of those, Internet Explorer, Safari, any of those. That website is zoom.us. Okay, now both of these will connect your same account. So whatever account you have for Zoom will be here. I'm assuming by this stage that you all have at least the free account with Zoom. What we're going to go through now is logging in on both of these sites. So on the browser here and on the app or the client here. The client generally will keep you automatically logged in, so see that there, the CH, that's me, Claire Haywood, my user with my email, dancegeek0@gmail.com. That is also the email that you can email me on if you need help. At any point, just email it. I will get those emails instantly and I'll reply as soon as I possibly can. Emails are really important when we're going through this setup. So think of it as the email rather than the name. It'll just be clearer for you. We're going to go back into the web browser. So we're on www.zoom.us. We are going to my account. Click. Mine's already signed in. Signing in is pretty easy. It uses your email account to sign in with your password. And that is just for one account. What does that mean? Right. If you have more than one studio, as in more than one room that you teach classes in, and you have multiple classes happening at the same time, you're going to need to set up multiple accounts. So what you need is multiple emails. I'm going to show you how to do that. If you know how to set up an email account easily, or if you have multiple email accounts, then skip this part. But we're going to do this. So I'm opening a new tab in my web browser. I'm a Gmail girl, so I'm going to go into Gmail, but you can use any web client. So I'm clicking Gmail. And it's going to take me into whichever email account I'm currently signed into. So ignore all of this. I'm currently signed in as Dance Geek. I have multiple email accounts. I have Dance Geek Tools. I have Haywood Claire. You can add another account, or you can create a new account. So if you want to add a new account, if you only have the one email and you want to create, and you need to create new email accounts, click add another account in Gmail and click here, create an account. Don't worry about it being to manage my business. You are a business. I get that. Don't worry about it. You just need the email address. This isn't going to relate to tax or anything like that. So don't worry about connecting it as a business. You can put in your studio's name and surname here. So if your studio is, I don't know, Melbourne Dance Academy, then just do that. Or you can just put your name there. Don't really worry about what it is. So I'm going to go with it won't allow numbers, I don't think. But anyway, you set up the account however you want. So we'll go Claire. Haywood. Now it will allow, this is where you can differentiate. Claire Haywood, Dance 1. And it will give you an automatically generated one. We're going to get rid of that because, well, unless you want to use it, it's up to you. But we're going to go with Dance Geek 1. Tab. If it's available, it'll let, I know Dance Geek 0 is not available because that's already mine. Oh, there you go. Does let you have it. Password, so put in any password that you know you're going to remember. Yep, so that username's already taken, which I knew. So then you just have to try other ones. So they give you a couple of options. Let's see if Dance Geek 1 is taken. That's annoying. Dance Geek 2. Dance Geek Zoom. Cool, that's available. Anything that's optional, don't worry about putting it in. Put all this. Do your own birthday. You don't have to make things up. Do we need to know that? Why in this day and age does a computer need to know my gender? Anyway, so like I said, this is only necessary if you need to know how to create an email account. So you're using multiple email accounts for every studio. So if you have 3 rooms at your studio that are being used, then you're going to create 3 emails. So Studio 1, Studio 2, Studio 3. This is your email. Bam, done. Get rid of all this. Yep, okay, cool. Get rid of all of that default stuff you don't really need. You're not setting this up to use as an email really much of anything. Okay, so we're going to go back into Zoom. Anyway, that was just how to create an email account if you didn't need to do it, if you didn't know how to do it. And you need to set up the accounts for each of your studios or each of your rooms, which that means if you've got 10 rooms and you have 10 classes running at the same time at any point and you want to keep it that way, then you're going to need to create 10 pro accounts, which I get is a bit much, but that's the way it is. Your alternative is to change your schedule, and that will cut down on your pricing. So one room, you can't run multiple Zoom meetings at the same time, so you need to have multiple accounts. Breakout rooms can do it for you, but it's not the ideal way to go, and it can get a little bit fiddly. So if you want to run it through breakout rooms all under the one account, to cut back on your expenses, then let me know and I'll help you do that independently. But for this tutorial, we are doing multiple pro accounts. So if you've created your first one, so my Dance Geek one, and now I'm like, well, I've got a second studio that I need to create one for. So I'm going to go to this little picture. I'm going to sign out and I'm going to create a new one for Dance Geek Zoom under that email account. You'll see I am still in the web client, the web host for this, or the browser version. sign up, it's free. Sign in is if you already have an account. Sign up is for when you don't. Okay, date of birth. You don't have to make this up. Do your actual date of birth. You're all going to see my date of birth so many times. I'm expecting lots of embarrassing happy birthday messages on the 9th of June. Okay, this is where we put in our next email address. So I'm doing my second room. So second email address, dancegeekzoom@gmail.com. Sign up. Boom, boom. I'm going back into the actual account, email account for that new email account I set up. In here, I'm going to refresh the page because I'm impatient. And that email from Zoom should be there, and it's not. Oh. We've sent an email to Zoom, to Dance Geek Zoom, and then we have to, this is your confirmation email, okay? So it's taking a bit of time. There's a lot of people signing up to Zoom at the moment, so it's probably got to do with that. You don't always need to refresh the screen, but I like to do it because it sort of pushes it through. All right, click in that email, activate. Click the activation button there. And we're still in the web browser version. Okay, welcome to Zoom. First name, last name, password, confirm. So you put in all of that info. Oops. With your passwords, you're going to be giving these login details to the teachers that will be in each of these rooms, or each of these studios. It's up to you if you want to have a different password for each of the studios, or if you just want to keep the same password. You can do that. You can't use the same email address for each account, but you can definitely use the same password. So it's completely up to you how you manage that. Invite your colleagues. You don't need to do that, and I would definitely skip that step. Cool. Don't worry about your personal meeting URL. It can be helpful, but let's just keep this simple. Okay, so now I've got this account here that's open, Dance Geek Claire, or Claire Dance Geek, which is, if I click on my little profile button here, it's a basic account. And if I go back into this one, if I go into my client over here, so this is the app, I'm signed in this one under my Dance Geek Zero Gmail, and this is licensed, which means I paid for some level of Zoom. So there's the two different versions. All right, we're going to go back into this new one I've created. And we are going to buy or upgrade. Thought you could do it from there. All right. So when you're in the basic, it's going to give you all of these little upgrade pop-ups because, you know, they want to do that. Oops. So that was me just clicking this one at the top. There's a message. Blah, blah, blah. I can click package options to buy. You can click plans and pricing. This is what I'm going to go through because this is always there. So we're clicking plans and pricing. For the majority of dance studios, you will only need Pro. You won't need small to medium business, and you won't need large enterprise. The features that are available are not really necessary for dance classes, so stick with Pro. By all means, do your own research and have a look at those other two options, but I genuinely don't believe you're going to need any more than that. Normally, I would go with this annual one where you commit to a year and it ends up being cheaper per month. But because we don't know how long this is going to go for, we could be using this for 3 months. We could be using it for 3 years. Who knows? I would go month to month. It means you can get out of it. It means if you're teaching online for a month, you can back out without losing any money. You are going to be paying a little bit more, but look at this, it's Australian dollars, you're saving $42 in a year. Let's just do the monthly. Okay, so we're clicking monthly. Okay, add-ons. Don't worry about any of these add-ons. Zoom Rooms is often a tempting one for dance studios because we're like, oh, does that mean there's extra rooms? It's not. It doesn't actually refer to meeting rooms in the Zoom world. It actually refers to meeting rooms in the physical world, and we ain't in the physical world anymore, so don't worry about that. You don't need any of these other bits and pieces. Audio conferencing I don't believe you'll need cloud recording, extra cloud recording storage, unless you have a very old computer that has no storage on it. Then you might, but even so, I can teach you how to create Gmail accounts where you can store them. Blah, blah. So don't worry about any of these extras here. I genuinely don't think you'll need any of them. You can pick multiple hosts. You don't need to. If you click multiple hosts, so just say you've got, say, 4 teachers, right? It's going to increase here. You don't need to do that. Click one. The problem is you're going to be losing a lot of money at the moment with your overheads. So we want to keep your expenses minimal. You can't do this for free, but you can definitely do it minimal. And this is your minimal option. So keep it as one host, because you're going to do this for multiple accounts. If you're lucky enough to have a coupon, do a coupon. And then share it with everybody else, please. Okay, your billing contact. So this is where you sort of have to start getting a bit more accurate with your information. So this is where I would change this to your actual name as the owner of the business. Or for me, I don't own a studio anymore, but I do my taxes and things like that. So yeah, put in any of your tax information, your organisation name, if it applies. Employee account, leave it. Don't put it in. You can, but don't worry about it. Your address, all of that, your billing stuff, then you do your payment method, blah, 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 blah. I am not a robot. Upgrade now. I am not going to upgrade and finish this here because I'm not buying a second account. I don't need it. But that's where you do all of your payment stuff, and that's how you upgrade to the pro account. Like I said, there are certain things that you don't need to add in, like the employee account and stuff like that. You can just do just me. Don't worry about that. You don't want it to be trying to sell you extra bits and pieces. It gets more complicated as well as more expensive, so just do this. Okay, today's charge is this. Your reoccurring monthly charge will be $20.98. Now this is $99. This is before taxes. This is more of a US-based company. Actually, I think it's Chinese-based, but a US-based company. So they're going to add the tax on at the next screen. It's only like $2. So it ends up being about $22, $23 for your first month and subsequent months after that. Okay, I'm now going to get out of this. Just boom, go away. And I'm going back into, so that's how you create a pro account. And we've gone over why you'd create the pro account and why you need multiple, or you may need multiple pro accounts. I'm going to sign out of this sample one and go back into my actual one. So I'm signing out over there. And now because I've already got the account, I'm going to go into here with sign in. I put in my email address. Now this is the section you can send to your teachers when they will be logging in to host their class. They will put in the email address assigned to the studio that they will be working in. So you get to this, think of it in real world times. You get to the studio and you know, they will know that they have their first class they're teaching in Studio 1, Room 1. Instead of knowing that it's called Room 1, they'll need to know the email account. So they may be teaching in Dance Geek 0 email or room, or they might be teaching in Dance Geek Zoom room. It will depend on the email address as instead of the studio location. So we're going into my original one, which is Dance Geek 0. If you are only going to be using one Zoom account, if you don't need to do multiple classes at a time, then I would definitely click Stay Signed In. If you have multiple that you'll be using on the one computer, then don't have it automatically sign in, because then you're going to have to keep signing out and all of that sort of stuff. I use my own Zoom, which is my Dance Geek 0, but I also teach for other studios, so when I teach for them, I don't sign in as me, I sign in under their Zoom accounts with whatever room I'm assigned to. So that's why I don't have this here pre-selected. Okay, you click sign in and it takes you into the dashboard of the web hosted version of it. You can do pretty much the same things in this version of it as you can in here. This client version is a lot more user-friendly, and this is how I would recommend your teachers log in. And when you're just going in to teach a class, this is where I would recommend you go, into the client. So that's the app version of it. But when you're setting up the web browser, so through Google, through Google Chrome, through Safari, through Internet Explorer, whichever web browser you use, the zoom.us website version of it is actually more powerful and you can do more things in it. So this is where you're going to set up, and yeah, this is where you're going to do all of the setup stuff, but I think you'll probably you'll live here in the app more than you will live here. All right, we're going to go through this profile page just as a, just so that if you want to change any of this, you can. You have an account number, not massively important, but it's there if you ever need it. You can change the picture here to anything you want, really. You could make this your like the studio logo. A good idea might be to actually click on this, upload a new picture, but have it be like so, Dance Geek Studio 1, Dance Geek Studio 2. So then your staff will know if they're in the right room, but that's up to you. The email is here. Don't worry about linked accounts. User type. This is telling you if you have a paid license or if you're on the basic. Your meeting capacity is 100, which is one of the main reasons why you never have to go as a dance studio up further, because if you're teaching more than 100 people in your studio, that's probably not very good. Your day and time format. Make sure this is set to wherever you live. That was my phone going off. I apologise. Yeah, so make sure you're set to the correct time zone and your dates. If you want to change that, click Edit over here. If you want to change the language, click Edit. Similar kind of format the whole way through. There's Edit buttons on the right-hand side. Now, this here gets a little bit more complicated, but if you use third-party services, so other services like Outlook or Google, especially with your calendars and contacts, if that's how you communicate with your students, then it's definitely worth having a look at connecting your Zoom account to your calendar. We can do that a little bit further down, but if you want to do it, you click here. I have a Google Calendar, and you can allow your Zoom to get calendar events and allow Zoom to sync to contacts. It can be quite useful down the track, but it's not necessary. Okay, so this is all your profile information. The knowledge base on Zoom, so down here, the knowledge base and the video tutorials are really useful. Basic kind of stuff that they're telling you, but they're very useful. The video tutorials have so we're having a look here, the video tutorials have the video, and they will have well, not in that one. Yeah, so the video tutorials do what I'm doing now, and that's they will follow you. You follow it through the screens of how to do the task. So it's definitely worth looking at. If there's something you want to know, go to the knowledge base. So click on it. It takes you to a new page. You'll still have your profile page open. Your account is open here. You've got a new, you have a look here, the website we're in is support.zoom.us, so it's a new page. You can look at these different topics, or you can just click here. Cool. So when I look up dance class, there is no article that is specifically related to dance classes. And if there were, I would know about it because I've been looking every day. Yeah, none of them are specific to that. But the knowledge base is good. So have a look through that if there's anything that's not covered in my tutorial. Some knowledge bases for different different systems, some knowledge bases are useless. This one is not. This one is actually pretty good, so I do recommend using it. Okay, don't be tempted by room management. Sorry, we're moving over to this side of the screen. You have all of your personal stuff. This is pretty much where you will be living. This bit here, don't be tempted by the account or the room management or the user management. I did have a big old play with this. It just gets a bit complicated and unnecessarily complicated in the setup. It's not necessary. Room management, it doesn't allow you to have multiple meetings at this level. You need to pay a lot of money. It's not necessary. Don't do it. We're going to stay up here under personal. Okay, so this personal bit is about the actual studio, the room that the virtual room that you're teaching in. If you click on meetings, this will tell you any upcoming meetings you have. Upcoming meetings, previous meetings, personal meeting room, don't worry about that, and meeting templates, which you don't really need either. These are the two you may use. Okay, so these are the meetings I have had before. Most of them are testing this. And you can delete them. Like there's a whole bunch of other testing ones that I've run that I've gotten rid of. But it's just a good way for you to be able to see if your meetings actually went ahead. This one here, you'll notice says next to it recurring. And that's what we're going to be looking at in a minute. Upcoming, this is anything you've got scheduled to happen. Webinars is an add-on feature you don't need. Recordings relates to recording of the class itself. And in most cases, your insurance is going to require you to keep a recording of these meetings. I highly recommend using local recording. So what it means by local is listed below are accessible only from the computer on which they were recorded. You cannot do a local recording, so it will not record the class onto anything other than a computer. Laptop or desktop is fine. You can't, if you're running your classes from a smartphone or from a tablet, it will have to record to the cloud. You don't get a lot of cloud storage in your account at this level with Zoom, but the file sizes are surprisingly small. So you could record a couple to the cloud if you absolutely have to, but this and multiple other reasons, you want to be running your Zoom classes as the host, you want to run it from a computer. It's just much easier and much more powerful. So you're going to be in this little local recordings. Here, now mine, I've got quite a lot of recordings there. I can delete them. I haven't deleted any just yet. So recordings tab, you will certainly use that at times. And then we have settings. Now this is where we're going to hang out for a bit now. Settings. In the settings tab, you have three options: meeting, recording, telephone. Each of these tabs have another menu of lots of options that you can toggle on or off. Toggle is this thing here. Boom, 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 boom. That's a toggle. Okay. You won't use the telephone one. That's specifically for telephone, literally just telephone conferencing, and you won't be doing that with dancing. So if you want to do that, use your phone. So you'll be using meeting and you'll be using recording. All right. We're going to start in meeting. This is up to you, but you can have it set automatically so that when the meetings start, the host's video will be turned on. Doesn't really matter if it's on or off. It really doesn't, because once you're in the meeting, you can put your video on. So if you click this, if you toggle this, it will mean that every time a meeting starts, the host, being the person who's running this particular room account, their camera will be turned off. They can click a button, turn it on in the meeting, so it doesn't really matter. The same goes for the participants' videos. You can have that automatically comes on or automatically off. It's up to you how you do that. The only time I think it would be good to definitely have that automatically on is if you're dealing with people en masse who are not good with technology, if you're dealing with really little kids. But honestly, most of the people you'll be teaching are kids that know how to use technology better than us anyway, so don't stress about whether it's on or off. Audio type, this really doesn't, this particular one doesn't really matter. I just leave it as computer and telephone audio. Join before host. This is definitely one for safety reasons. You want to turn that off. So this is off at the moment. You do not want people to be able to get into the class without the teacher being there. Okay, so your teacher is the host, that person. Participants are your students. So that sentence is saying, allow students to join, meeting is class, to join the class before the teacher arrives. No, they're not allowed in the studio without a teacher, so they're not allowed in the meeting room without a teacher. So make sure that's off. Personal ID, you don't need to worry about. Keep that off, keep them off. They're not really important. Only authenticated users can join meetings. Yes, absolutely. We only want people who have proper accounts, is what this means. So here's your meeting authentication options. They have to be signed into Zoom in order to join your class. Previously, if you turn this off, what that means is they don't have to sign into anything. And that's okay. Yes, that might make it easier for them, but we don't want to make it easier. You've probably heard of Zoom bombing and some of the security issues that Zoom have been having. They are not as serious as the media has made it out to be. Basically, Zoom has all of the functionality within it to protect your classes from unwanted people getting in there. You just have to turn the features on. So make sure they're authenticated. If they have to sign up to Zoom, that's a record of them. People who Zoom bomb don't want records of themselves kept anywhere because it's easier to track them. So if you make this, if you toggle this on, that's one extra step to protect your students. This is the next step. This is now definitely on. You can turn it off, but Zoom have automatically put this on. They will, so this means you need a password to schedule the meetings. Definitely. You want people to have to put a password, whether they're people that are, it means that no one can hack your account without your password so once they're in, they might hack your account. They're not going to, but if someone hacks your account and tries to create a meeting, they'll still need the password to create the meeting, even though they're in there, okay? You want to put as much protection on this as you can. Require a password for personal meeting. Yep, cool. We're not using personal meeting ID, but do it. Require passwords for participants joining by phone. We're not doing any phone, but just anything password related, say yes. Okay, it just keeps everything safe as possible. Here, muting participants upon entry, I would recommend turning that on just so that if someone arrives late, or if you start your class a couple of minutes early and you're having a conversation, you're not going to have someone drop in going, yeah, no, mum, blah, blah, and yelling and whatever. Okay, so just mute them, and then they have to unmute themselves. Mute is going to be your favorite feature of Zoom. I guarantee it. Okay, we then get into the basics. Now, what I'm doing here is just scrolling down the screen. Okay, I'm now up to the second heading from this menu here. So you can click on each of these, or you can just scroll down the whole list and you'll go through each of these. All right. This doesn't apply to anything we're going to be doing because we don't have SIP and any of that. Chat is up to you. When you're in the meeting, which we'll look at later, there is a screen down the side where people can chat, text chat. You can decide whether or not you want to have that on or off. Okay. It will also tell you if you turn this off. Sometimes when you turn a feature off or on, it will affect other features. So Zoom will always pop up and tell you that. I have the chat turned on just for the way I run some of my classes. Auto saving. If you're going to have the chat turned on for the same reason that you record your classes, then save your chats, because it means that any communication that happens within that class, you have a record of it in case there's anything that goes wrong, and for legal reasons. So definitely turn that on. If you're going to allow chats, automatically save it. And what the autosave means is you don't have to manually do it. Remember to do it every time you run a class. Play sound when participants join or leave. I highly recommend this. You can have it heard by all the attendees. I don't recommend that at all. So basically it'll mean if someone drops out of the class, you'll hear a little ding ding. So I definitely recommend putting that on and making it heard by the host only. It's so you can keep track of if people are leaving, because sometimes it gets a bit hard to keep track of that visibly, which we'll go through after. Okay, I would definitely recommend leaving this file transfer on so that you can send them files if you need to. It's just extra things you can do to communicate with your students. Feedback to Zoom, doesn't care. Feedback survey, you don't really need unless you want to. Co-hosts. Sure. You can add polls if you want. The co-host thing, I don't really know how that works, so hopefully I'll look at that now. Polling. Oh, sorry, this feature is only available with the version 3.5. Make sure you're updating your Zoom. If you get a notification, there's a new version, update it. Update. Even if it means you're going to be without your computer for a little while, update it. Because there are some features you won't be able to use unless you have the updated version, so do it. Polling, so if you could ask, this is a good way to do little games and things within your class, so I definitely allow that. But again, that one's up to you. That's a personal thing. I wouldn't have the meeting controls, this bit here, I wouldn't have that always on. When they're always on, it's going to mean that you will always have part of your screen along the bottom will have the different control icons and things, boom, 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 boom. And you want as much screen space devoted to dancing as you possibly can. So I would, in my experience, turn that off. You can still see the meeting control bar. It pops up when you run your cursor down the bottom. We'll go over that later, but definitely keep that off. Leave that. Screen sharing. Screen sharing is where you can get your people within the meeting to see what your device's screen is doing. It's really good if you want to show like a YouTube video, for example. You don't have to get everybody to click on it in their own little time. You can actually just click screen sharing and it will go through to your students. You can change this within each meeting if you want, but I would highly recommend that you make it so that only the host can share. That way, your students can't just randomly chuck something in. And, God forbid, if you have someone Zoom bomb and jump in on your meeting, someone who shouldn't be there, they can't share something on the screen from an external source because you've made it impossible for them to do that. If you want to, so if someone has something they want to share and you're going to allow it, when you're in that particular class, you can change that whilst you're there. But having it automatically set like this is much easier. Yeah, again, this is another disable your desktop screen share. Do it. annotation, you may as well keep that on, because the annotation and the whiteboard are related to screen sharing. And if you have it so that your participants cannot share their screen, then they're not going to be able to do this either. So don't worry about it. Leave them on. Leave them as what their default is. That's another one related to screen sharing that's not really relevant. Don't worry about nonverbal feedback. Definitely don't allow removed participants to rejoin, because that means if you have to kick someone out, they can get back in again. And allow participants to rename themselves. Yeah, definitely let them do that. We'll get to that after. Your advanced settings, breakout rooms. Breakout rooms this is the feature that I really want to be able to use to run multiple classes, because what happens is you start a meeting or a class, and just say you've got 20 kids in the class, and then you want to break them into smaller groups, and they're each group of say 4 or 5 are going to create their own small piece of choreography, so 16 counts, and then they'll come back together afterwards. When they separate out, you can actually use breakout rooms to do that. So it's like putting them into physically separate rooms where it will only be their group. There's my housemate, her university are doing that. So she'll attend the lecture online through Zoom with everybody. There's about 100 of them or something, and then they get split up into smaller groups, and that's where they go to a breakout room. Now, as the host, you can jump into each individual different group, but you can still only have one host. If you were to run this as separate dance classes, then if you were to run this as separate dance classes in breakout rooms, what you would need to do is your teachers would only be able to be in there as a participant, so they wouldn't have all of the features of a regular host, and you as the principal would need to be monitoring the whole thing. So if you only have, say, one night where you've got multiple classes running, it could be a cheaper way to run it. But if you've got multiple classes running every night, I just don't think it's going to be a feasible option for you to do. If you want to talk to me about that option further, then dancegeek0@gmail.com, and I will definitely get in contact with you and we can discuss it further, because I'm more than happy to help you out setting it up that way. But allow the breakout rooms. A lot of people in the States who have been doing this for a while now have had a lot of success using the breakout rooms just as like extra things to be able to do, just to say, especially with like their more dedicated classes, longer classes, like your comp teams, that kind of thing, and just putting them into their separate groups. So it's like, okay, you guys are all working on the pirouette section, so I'll put you in a breakout room and you guys can all work on that together. That kind of thing. But yeah, closed captioning, if that's an issue for you, if you need that, then definitely activate it, and you just want to then save the captions. Far end camera control. If you are lucky enough to have somebody who can control your camera for you, then yes, you can click that on, but it's really not going to be necessary, so don't worry about it. Group HD video. You do not want to activate higher quality video. Absolutely not. When you activate a higher quality of video, so when you're running in HD, it takes up more bandwidth, which slows your internet down. You do not want your internet to slow down any more than it already is nowadays with everybody being at home. So don't do HD. I'm tempted so much all the time because I'm a YouTuber and I always want the high quality video. Don't do it. It will slow it down so much and it will cause you nightmares. It'd be like the equivalent of teaching in a physical studio and the lights flickering and then turning off, or getting losing power completely. It causes that level of disruption. Don't do HD. Allow virtual backgrounds. They're fun. We'll talk about it after. Don't worry about that because this is all participants who belong to your account, blah, blah, blah. We're not actually running your participants through your account, your students through your account, so don't worry about that. Auto answering group chat, that doesn't apply. If you are going to do Outlook plugin and connect your Outlook through to your Zoom, then you might want to connect this on, but I'm not going over that right now. So if you toggle that on, if you're going to be connecting your Zoom to your Outlook account. Definitely allow users to select stereo audio in their client settings. You want to allow anybody to do that, although technically you're not really using users, so don't stress. Waiting room. This is another feature that Zoom have put on automatically in order to help with security. So your waiting room is literally like your reception area or waiting room at the studio. It means that students can't walk, or people can't walk directly into the dance class. They have to go to the waiting room first. You will then see them, and then you'll let them into the class. So if there's a weirdo that you don't know who's there just to Zoom bomb and is a dirty perv, you'll see them because you'll go into the waiting room. The only way they can get in is through that waiting room. So it's an added security level, which you definitely should be activating. So it will already be on, leave it on. You want to make this all participants, not just guests. You want it, everybody needs to go to the waiting room first. So when they click your link to get into the class, they will go straight to the waiting room. The only way they can get in, they can't barge through a wall. They have to go to the waiting room. Make sure it stays on. All right, this is a cute little feature here. You can put your logo in here. You can change this. So I made this, please wait, your teacher will let you into class soon. Welcome to Dance Geek's virtual reception area. Your dance class will begin shortly. You can change all of that. You can put your logo. This is what they will see when they're in the waiting room. So it makes it more personalized. This is where you can change things from, your host will let you into the meeting soon. I changed it to your teacher, not host. We want to use our terminology. Your teacher will let you into class, not the meeting. It's not a meeting, it's a class. So change your terminology here. It's a good way to personalize it and make it feel as much like our actual studio homes as possible. Don't worry about live streaming, because you're not actually, that's only if you're going to live stream it through a third party, which you're not going to do, probably. If you are going to do it, then you know enough about it on your own technical terms to do it by yourself. Email notification when a cloud recording is available. I would turn that on if you're using multiple accounts and your teachers are going to be logging into things on your behalf, like if they're going to log into your accounts so that they can run their classes, just because it means then if one of your teachers, for whatever reason, and believe me, things happen, if they can't run it off their computer and they have to run it on their phone, it will email you to let you know that that class was recorded to the cloud. So definitely put that in. Email when attendees join. You don't need to do that because you're not letting them join before the host. Email when a meeting is cancelled. Yes, keep that on just in case someone cancels one of your classes and you're like, what? These are all permanent default settings, so I'm just leaving them. No problem. Don't worry about scheduling privileges because you're not actually going to be having users as such. Users are when they're linked to your actual account and you've got their names. Don't worry about any of that, okay? So that's not really an issue. So now we've gone through each of these menu options in the meeting setting. We're now going to jump into recording. Okay. Hosts can give participants the permission to record locally. Hell no! You do not want your students to be able to record their classes. Nope. But you do want the host to be able to do that. Okay? So, local recording, switch it on. Okay? The host is your teacher or you. You definitely want this to be automatically done so that you don't have to worry about telling your teachers, hit record once you start your meeting. It's an extra step they don't want to do. But just make sure you don't want them to be able to, you don't want your students to be able to record. Okay? So keeping this toggle here on means that every time you start a class or a meeting, it will automatically start recording to the device that's running it, so the computer that's running it. Cloud recording, have a look through this, but I'm hoping you're not going to need to use it. Cloud recording is only needed to be used, like I've said, if you're running Zoom from just a phone or a tablet, and that's not going to be the optimal way to do it. If you have to do that, if that's your only option, dancegeek0@gmail.com. Email me, I will talk you through it. Okay. But for this purpose, don't worry about this. Just allow cloud recording on those odd chances that it does have to happen. Automatic recording, yes. Automatically record on the local computer, definitely not in the cloud. So make sure this is on, make sure that is on. That IP address control is way too advanced. You don't need to do that. Don't worry about it. Only authenticated users can view cloud recordings. Put it on just in case. Just in case. Require passwords to access shared cloud recordings. Like I said, anything that requires a password, just turn it on, just to be safe. This disclaimer, to be honest, I think it may be a new feature that I'm not 100% aware of. I'm leaving it on because I want to see what happens with it. That's pretty much all. Yeah, but other than that, yeah, that's pretty much all I use in here. I've gone through a lot of this user management. You don't need it. Room management, you definitely don't need it. You don't have physical rooms that anyone is able to be in, so you can't manage those physical rooms. Account management is just if you need to look at your billing and things like that. And these advanced features here, none of them apply to you, so don't worry about it. I mean, if you're like me and you're into tech, look at them. That's my biggest thing when I'm training any kind of tech is don't be afraid to look at things. Go, what's an app marketplace? What's this H.323? What is it? Click on it and see. You're not going to break anything just by clicking, okay? So have a look. All right, so that's all of your basic setup things. You're going to do that for every room or studio that you have, okay, or that you need. If you need to be running 3 classes at once, you're going to do that for 3 different accounts linked to 3 different email addresses, okay? So you would then log out here, so sign out and then sign back in as the other one and do that same thing again, okay? That's a detailed rundown of how to set up, so that's building each of the rooms that you're going to teach classes in, okay? Next up, we're going to talk about scheduling your classes.